Hey y'all, Fish Tacos here. A while back, I made a video in the summer about overrated Smash Ultimate characters. I wonder how well it's held up.
Well, I'm not sure if he's even overrated, but I've been seeing so many people saying how Ridley is underrated and whatever.
What the
Alright, so quick things to say before we get into the list. First off, just because a character is on here, it doesn't mean that they are bad. There's like 10ish characters in this game that you could say are bad, so if I say a character is mid-tier, don't immediately think that I'm saying the character is unviable. Just know that I don't think they're as good as people are saying. Second off, I'm only looking at characters who are widely considered to be high tier or above, and way above my opinions of the character. Finally, this list isn't ordered. The meta is constantly changing, and it's really hard to give a concrete answer on how good a character is. This can further be proven with the fact that this is my second attempt at this topic. It's also important to know that I'm still going to consider characters from my old list. With all that said, here are my picks for 5 overrated characters in Smash Bros. Ultimate. Terry is often seen as a very strong character, and I completely agree with that. The character can pull off some crazy combos and has an extremely good comeback mechanic. Many people say that the character is a high tier, and I also agree with that. However, it's the specific area in high tier that I disagree with. Many people say he's towards the upper end of high tier, which is kinda funky for me. His advantage state is pretty darn good, but in my opinion, his neutral and disadvantage are just not as good as people realize. His neutral is decent, but it is easy to fight against. Defensive characters can wall him out, and rushdown characters can have an easier time landing an important hit in the neutral. Terry's disadvantage is also really not that good. I'm pretty sure he's heavier than Ryu and Ken, which means he can get comboed pretty darn hard. Not to mention the fact that he can sometimes have a hard time landing or recovering. In my opinion, I think Terry is at the lower end of high tier, and sometimes I can even see him as a mid tier. He's still a solid character, but just not a borderline top tier like some people may think. Palutena is one strange character to talk about, but here we go, I guess. Like Terry, I agree with the popular opinion about what tier she is in, but not the specific placement. Many people consider her to be top 10 or even top 5, and I just have to ask why. Don't get me wrong, her advantage and even her disadvantage are pretty darn swell. However, there are 2 major flaws here. The first is that while she does a ton of damage, for a top tier she struggles to kill more than people realize. The second is that her neutral is not as difficult to deal with as people think. Don't get me wrong, she obliterates almost the entire roster, but once you get to top tier and the upper end of high tier, things get a little yucky. Time to say it, Palutena isn't even top 10 to me. I simply think that with her nerfs and other characters getting better, she just doesn't quite keep up with the other top 10 characters as much anymore. To many top players, Hero isn't even a high tier, but for all the people who stick him into high tier, this is for you. Hero isn't really a good character. Unlike the 2 other characters before, I don't even agree with his general tier placement. I'm gonna be flat out honest and say that he's a lower mid tier. Sure, he can do some wacky things, but man, he's not even close to being a high tier. First off, he's extremely slow and doesn't have a lot of combos. His neutral isn't great because sometimes he has to get dice rolls to even play the game, and good pressure doesn't even allow him to do that. The best way to describe Hero is a bad character with a little luck because none of his other moves, even his special moves, scream high tier to me. He's not even a good anti-zoner because without bounce he simply just gets beaten by projectiles. I hate to break it to you all, but Hero kind of sucks. Hey, you know how people make fun of Mars for saying Zero Suit Samus isn't even top 10? Oh boy, do I actually agree with that opinion. ZSS has become one of the default top 5 characters in this game. Look at almost any tier list and you will always find ZSS in the top 5. However, there are some flaws in my opinion that hold her back. The first thing is that a lot of her kill combos aren't exactly true. Granted, it's hard to get out of them online, but offline there's a decent chance you can get out of them. That's the main thing in my opinion. Because she is such a fast character and is so hard to hit, fighting her online can be kind of a headache for many. I also want to point out that sometimes her moves don't exactly work properly. Look, I still think the character is in the top 15 like Palutena, but she just doesn't have as much as the higher characters. Killing at 100 may seem crazy, but remember, this is Ultimate, where killing at 90 is sometimes not enough. Crazy to think about that, to be honest. Also, people kind of overrate this character because a top 5 player plays them. Yeah.
To get into the last character, I just want to throw a callback to my original video and give 4 honorable mentions, and basically explain why my opinions have changed on them, sort of. First off, we have Corrin. Corrin is still a mid-tier to me, but she's no longer bottom 20 to me like I originally thought. Still overrated, but some players already put her in mid-tier, so basically, yeah. The second is Inkling, and simply put, yeah, basically everybody's saying the character is high tier, like I agree with that, because my opinion has dropped even more on them, which is kind of insane. The next is Bowser, and basically everyone's on the fence if Bowser's a mid-tier or high tier, so I didn't put him in. And the final is Ridley. I have no idea why I put that character on the list. Maybe it was a jab at East, I don't know. However, there's one more character that I want to talk about. However, they are not an honorable mention. They are the final character to this list, and oh boy, am I ready to rip into shreds. Here we go.
The amount of times I see Cloud at the upper end of high tier, or even on the border of top tier, is just ridiculous. I don't get it. How can you say Sheik is a bad character because she can't kill, yet say Cloud is a near top tier? Before anyone gets mad, this character can kill, it's just hard for him to do it because he has to raw hit you and doesn't exactly have many kill confirms. This character also has horrendous recovery without limit. The only reason why I can see people putting this character so high is because we're stuck online where Cloud is super busted. So many people jab at Esam for saying that Cloud is a mid tier, but to be honest, I completely agree. The character flat out lacks the sauce high tiers and top tiers have, and it's only a matter of time before offline comes back and people actually learn the matchup. Before people get upset though, just remember what I said at the beginning of this video. Being an upper mid tier isn't bad. I originally wanted to stay from characters who I talked about on my previous list, as I don't want to repeat myself. However, one day on Twitter, I saw someone put Cloud in top 15, and I knew he belonged on this list. You could disagree with me now, but just wait until you have to face him offline and realize how easy it is. Thank you for watching. I hope that you can at least see what I'm saying with these opinions, and hope we can have a nice discussion about it in the comments below. Who do you think is overrated? Be sure to comment your spicy opinions below. With all that said, have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.